On Rappin on Racing tonight is a big block modified driver. His name is Colton Walters. Colton, welcome to Rappin on Racing. How are you tonight?
Pretty good, Tyler. Yourself?
I am doing well. How is your off season going? How is preparations for the 2023 season coming along?
It's been pretty good so far. Couple little hiccups in the road here. Dad's got to get a knee replacement here in 2 weeks, so he'll be hopefully walking better this coming race season. So that'll be good. And no, it's all good. Working on my race car, working on sponsorship stuff. Working on Pap's race car. God, that's scary. I never thought I'd have to say that again. But working on Pap's race car too when I can. But no, it's been pretty good, bud.
I tell you what, you guys look like you have been having a blast, especially your Pap, jumping back into a race car for the first time in umpteen years, and he comes home with a win.
Yeah, 15 years, but yeah, it was 14 or 15 years, and he God, I was just hoping that the thing came home in one piece. Okay, I just wanted to. Me and Dad, we worked so hard on that thing just to go, because not this past summer, summer before, I lost my other grandfather to cancer, and it's one of them things where Pat's 80, and it's like, man, we got to get this for him because you never know, life happens. But our goal was just to take it and make all the laps, and it didn't break. He starts last in his heat race, drives it straight to the front. I'm like, oh God, okay, cool. So feature time comes. There was 3 pills in the bucket. It was start straight up, invert half the field, or invert the full field. Well, invert full field, starts the tail, drives to the front, wins it by a straightaway. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Now he's hooked, and which is great. It's, and it's so funny when I go places and I talk to people and they're like, oh, well, your grandfather raced, didn't he? I'm like, yeah, he's still racing. And they're like, what? And it's like, well, yeah. And they're like, but he's 80. And I'm like, he's 80 years old and still has his Class A CDL. Like, the dude's a machine. I'm not going to stop him. And you know what? God bless him. If he wants to keep doing it and he's able, I'm going to be there to support it as long as I can too. Because, I mean, it is cool and it's very sentimental for me because, now I just need to get my dad one. So them two can race. But, yeah, that's all the hassle I need. I'd have to put my own racing on pause. We'd be going World Outlaw Vintage Racing.
We could talk about Larry Walters. We can talk about Jeff Walters all day long, but we're here to talk about you, Colton. Tell you what, one of the cool things that I got to watch last year was you at Lernerville. It was the final night of racing. You and Brian Swartzlander, what a storyline it was. I was very fortunate enough to be on the call that night. You were leading the way. Brian Swartzlander's coming. You're trying to go for your first ever victory in a big block modified. Brian Swartzlander's going for his 100th victory in a big block modified at Lernerville Speedway. Unfortunately, the dice don't roll your way that night. You come home second place. I believe you were second in that race. But man, what a story that was for you. I guess if you're going to lose, there's probably not much of a better way to lose than that. But one of the things that stuck out to me was in victory lane, while Brian's getting ready to climb out of his car, you come up and you congratulate him on his win. You could have been tuck your tail between your legs and go back to the pit and be disappointed with your performance, but there was something bigger at hand and you recognized that and congratulated him for it. So kudos to you, but walk me through that night. What was it like going through that race, and just explain it all to us.
So we'll start at the beginning of that night. Won the heat race in dominating fashion, and which set us up pretty good. Started on the outside pole of that feature. The other part to that night that not too many people know about, and I didn't post this, but there was actually a good friend of ours, Fred Birch. He is a sponsor on the race car. He does contracting work, and a friend of his, he was there with his grandson, and his grandson is autistic. And after the heat race, I went up and visited with them, and I have pictures of it. And, it's just something that's special to me. I'm not the guy that's going to put it on social media to take credit for it. I have pride in knowing that I did it and it was really cool. So I'm up there, and they're like, "Oh man, you look really good in the heat race. Do you think you can pull it off?" And I'm like, "Well, if we do, you better get down to victory lane, because this is gonna be cool." But so started on the outside pole of that feature, and Davey Murdoch took the early lead, and unfortunately he had engine trouble, and I inherited the lead on like lap, I believe it was 7, and I led till like lap 16 or 17, and I had there was one restart in there too. I had to fight Brian off for a restart, and I got him pretty good on the restart, but with about, I think it was 4 or 5 to go, we lined up double file. He was on the inside, I was on the outside, and as much as I jumped him on that first one, he jumped me on the second one. But that's what it had to be. And we were racing against a guy that's I believe he's a 8-time Lernerville track champion. He's in the Northeast Modified Hall of Fame. I mean, I'm really good friends with BJ Swartzlander, that whole Swartzlander crew. They're really great guys, and I talked to BJ later on, and he really thanked me for going and congratulating Brian, and it was special for me, and I know how much Brian respected that and how special that was for him as well. I mean, I'm really blessed as a race car driver. I mean, in my entire life, but driving a race car is just part of it. We're all people at the end of the day, and to accomplish what Brian Swartzlander has accomplished is a really big thing, not only for local racing but national racing. I mean, here's a guy. You look at all the great race car drivers that have came out of the tri-state area in Western Pennsylvania. That's a lot of really good race car drivers and a lot of really good talent. And even though that there was 9 big block modifieds that night, they were all damn good big block modifieds. And I mean, it's a shame that sometimes we don't get more cars, but damn it, they're freaking good, man. Like, all them cars are fast, all them guys are good, and they've been doing it forever.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to bring up to you. Kind of like the state of what modified racing is right now. It's interesting because, like you said, the numbers are low, but those that are there are very talented. They've been doing it for a while. Your Brian Swartzlanders, your Rex King Juniors, your Rex King Senior, whenever he's able to get back into a car again, Garrett Crummert, Jeremiah Shingledecker, Davey Murdoch. The list honestly goes on. We could keep naming them, but it's not necessary. People, within the sport know what's going on. And if you're not within the sport, please come check it out sometime.
Yeah, you're missing it. Yeah.
The thing that's interesting is those guys, and we can say that, and then they can prove it, can go and compete with some of the best in the nation. You see Brian Swartzlander go down to Bristol and compete and come close to making a show, if not make the show. We see Rex King Jr. go down to Texarkana and go race with some of the big dogs. So
even look at the beginning of the year, first night of the year, Matt Williamson came down, and that wasn't handed to him on a silver platter.
Nope.
I mean, yeah, once he got out front, he drove away, but I mean, that's Matt Williamson. He's Money Matt for a reason, but they're all tough competitors, and they're all super good. And the problem I feel, and not only with big block modified racing, is state of racing in general. Everything's just so expensive. And when it comes down to, I don't have a wife, I don't have a girlfriend, I don't have kids. So my kid is my race car in a sense.
It's your baby.
So yeah, it's my baby. So end of the day, I don't have to choose between racing on a Friday night or taking care of a family.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very hard crossroads that the sport's at right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would your advice be? So you are obviously a younger driver. How old are you now, Colton?
27.
27. So you're a younger driver, especially in comparison to some of the drivers. No disrespect that we were just bringing up and
No.
talking about, because experience comes with that. So you're a younger driver. You're going up against these guys that have so many more years experience on top of you. Where does your mindset go of as far in terms of, you're going to take your licks until you eventually start to get to that point where you already are competing with these guys on a regular basis, but to the point where you're consistently in the top five? What's the mental mindset like, and what kind of message would you share with a driver that might be wanting to get into big block racing but isn't sure, because look at the stacked field, or any division for that matter?
We all put our pants on one leg at a time. We're all humans. I mean, just because we've been doing this and this is what we do, just because they're the strong doesn't mean that they can't get their asses kicked. That's my motto. I mean, I look at it as, the first few years that I raced big blocks, it's a tough feeling, because I ran go-karts and I was really good. We won a lot of races, and I went from being up here on cloud nine, winning 19, 20 races a year, to it was a good night loading it in the trailer with all four tires on it, and then it was a good night if we finished in the top 10. And now it's, all right, we won a heat race and we finished in the top 5. You're gonna have your ebbs and flows in racing. It's Jeff Gordon, he has 93 career wins out of almost 800 starts. Richard Petty has 200 wins and almost 1,400 starts in NASCAR. You're not gonna win every night. That's the nature of the beast. With racing, it's not football, it's not hockey, it's not one-on-one. It's 1 versus 25, it's 1 versus 30, it's 1 versus 40. Now, those numbers are a little drastic. Last night of the year was 1 versus 8 other people, but you know what? Them 8 other guys, they were damn good racers.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't. The best way to start is just do it. If you want to do it and you have the will power to do it and the means, I mean, you can't starve yourself to go racing. But I've been very blessed in my racing career to have the support of my dad and my grandfather and my family on both sides. My dad's side and my mom's side. It takes a very large support system to do this, and not only with family, but marketing partners, all the people that help. Just even that one guy that comes along that doesn't know anything, but can take one little piece of the puzzle away and chip away at it. Just check the air pressure in the trailer tires, or check the generator fuel. That just them little pieces all add up to so much.
Yeah. And the other thing is, you're talking about 1 versus 20, 30, 40, 1 versus 9. A lot of times I'm coming to find out it's 1 versus 1, in the sense that even if you're just a little bit off here, it's the difference between first place and 5th place, first place and 10th place. And I mean, I'm talking a turn of a shock, and all of a sudden you find yourself not being able to get out of your own way. I think a lot of that is something that you've greatly overcome in these past few years. Am I wrong?
I think so. I think
I am wrong.
Well, I don't think that you are wrong, but what I think is, when the big block modifieds started going to coilovers instead of torsion bars, that was a big reset for everybody. So I got into racing right as the coilovers were taking over. So everybody had to learn at the same rate. So it kind of was a reset for everybody. And I didn't know jack about torsion bars. So it helped our program, and I've gotten to be more consistent with my driving, and a lot of the setup work goes down to my crew chief, my cousin Mark, which him and I get along really well. He was on the road with the Outlaws for 10 years. He was with the Kinzers, CJB Motorsports, and a lot of
Big names. I mean,
big names.
Those are big name drivers, right?
Yeah, and he worked with Paul McMahon and Sammy Swindell when Swindell was driving for CJB. He's actually, Scott Gherkin told him, in all them teams are real close knit. He's the only guy to ever work on Steve Kinzer's car and Sammy Swindell's car. But
and for those at home that don't know, Steve Kinzer, Sammy Swindell, arguably one of the biggest rivalries in all of dirt track racing, and that's a rivalry that, man, if it's eclipsed any time in my lifetime, we're blessed, because I don't know. I mean, that's a rivalry that just transcended through the 80s and 90s in a way that in 2000s that just, I mean, 4 decades of racing that I don't know if we'll ever see again, but I sure as heck hope we do, man.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. But continuing on, just a lot of his ideas really help what we do, and it's not so much speed on the racetrack, it's organization, it's how to do things. It's just really great, and it took a little bit of a different mindset for me to overcome kind of the stuff that he was doing, because I was so set in my ways. But anymore, if he has an idea, I'm like, whatever you want, dude. Obviously it works. So no, we have a great relationship. Of course, my dad involved in there, and the 3 main people are just Mark, Jeff, and myself, and it's just it works out really well for us.
So you're saying Colton Walters Racing is looking for added help if need be?
Well, social media help. Because I mean, I can't do TikTok videos and hold the camera and, pull out, tub of towels out of the tub, videoing it with one hand. And it's kind of a pain.
Yeah, you got enough going on.
Yeah, I got enough going on. And that's the advantage where some of these guys have is this is what they do for a living. This is what they do every day. I go to work, same as you, every day. We have full-time jobs. It's not a hobby to us. It's a lifestyle, but it's difficult.
Sure, absolutely. You mentioned Tub of Towels, getting into the sponsorship, marketing partnership. That is one that you've been very adamant on your social media channels. So talk to us about some of the marketing partnerships that you've come up with, and maybe some news that you have going into the next racing season.
Yeah, so one thing with the marketing is a lot of people oversee this. It's very difficult, and you have to have good people behind you that you work with. A partnership isn't just race season. It is all year round. What you can do for their product, what they do for you, and all the help that goes into it's always, appreciated. Now, it's, how do I put this? 30 years ago when my grandfather raced, or 20 years ago, he was sponsored by Mountaineer Casino. It was up, the trailers lettered up, Mountaineer, we'll leave the slots on for you. The race car had Mountaineer on it. There was no social media. There was no nothing. It was a rolling billboard down the highway. Now, a sponsor today, it's difficult because it's not just the way it used to be. There's no blueprint to success with sponsorship. So what worked for my dad doesn't work for me because it's a new era. We're in the social media era. And a perfect example is Weiss Paving. They're a sponsor at Lernerville. Great people. They used to sponsor my dad years ago. No, this isn't bashing. This is all good. When you look at their perspective as a paving company, what makes more sense from a marketing advertising role? If they put their name at Lernerville on a billboard, every race fan there sees it all night long. They announce Weiss Paving, okay, we'll say 7 to 10 times. So at the end of the night, that person, they're driving out, they have signs paved by Weiss Paving, or so it's difficult because how do you retain a sponsorship when they can just put up a billboard along the road and they can put a billboard up on 356 Route 68 and have all that traffic pass by it every day.
Right.
So in this era, you have to work with these people and see what they want. Because I have a sponsor on the race car that, yeah, their name's on it, but they don't care as like that sticker on the race car. Yeah, that's cool, but they want you to TikTok, Instagram, social media, because that's their reach.
Yep.
You're a spokesperson for that product.
Yep.
So you have to get out there and pound the pavement for them.
Yeah, I mean it's essentially like affiliate marketing. I mean you go on TikTok. How many products do you see on TikTok or any social media platform for that matter? Every third thing you see on Facebook is an ad, is a sponsored ad.
How many things have you bought because you've seen an ad on TikTok or Facebook Market?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I agree with you. In terms of exposure, anybody can get a billboard, and they're going to get way more exposure than what is on a race car. I don't think it's necessarily a good business avenue for a driver to sell exposure. I mean, sure, exposure is worth something, but and return on investment, race fans, the benefit is we are loyal. Actually tend to be there is a Nielsen rating that proves that we are the most loyal in terms of supporting sponsors who support
yes.
The sport.
Motorsports fans are 90%. They have 90% product loyalty.
Yeah.
Which is huge.
Right. So, I mean, in terms of that, that's great. That's the one benefit to exposure within our sport. But I think it more or less creating that experience, as you mentioned, is what separates racers. I mean, think about it. Like, race cars are exciting. Race cars are fun to watch.
They're fast. They're sexy. They're awesome.
Right, exactly. You get to.
They're loud. They sound good. You smell the race fuels.
Right. So like that excites you and me. Perhaps a kid wanting to sit at home playing Fortnite, maybe it doesn't excite them as much. But I don't know. When you hear an engine turnover, to me, I don't see how anybody could be like, oh wow, okay. I mean, it definitely heightens your peak and interest. Regardless, going back to the main point, the ability to custom tailor a sponsorship, a marketing partnership, to make it so that it is mutually beneficial for the both of you. That's what comes to mind with you. What interests me is you've done a great job with Tubba Towels as you wear their shirt right now, to transcend that past just what a sponsorship is, and it truly is a marketing partnership. So. What do you think contributes to that success? Is that just a strong relationship that you happen to capitalize on, or is it something that you had to go out and earn?
Both. You have to have a strong relationship with them, but you have to earn that, because you just can't sit back and go, all right, we have a good relationship, this is never going to end. No, you have to continue to work for that. Like in the next month or two, you'll see me post more about snowmobile and stuff and Moody Sales. I'm a snowmobiler. I snowmobile in the wintertime. And Moody Sales, I bought my snowmobile brand new from Moody Sales. And you'll see me promote these sponsors that are on the race car. And the nice thing is a lot of these people, they're like me and you. They're friends, they're family now. They're mom and pop businesses that have became good people, good friends. They're like family, and that's just a great thing. And with social media, that just raises the stakes on everything. and you get to help them out. Who doesn't? Well, sometimes. I mean, I do have an 80-year-old grandfather that drives a race car now, but who doesn't like helping their family? You know,
Right.
but but he's it's just you have to think outside the box, and it's different than what it was 20 years ago. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. Growth in this sport is a good thing, and hopefully with the new social media era, and this isn't new. I mean, it's new to me because I've never really had to do it before. And there's no social media 101 for dummies that you pick up and go, okay, this is how you do it. No, you have to get out there. You have to make mistakes. You have to learn. You have to go about it, but you have to do it in a professional a professional manner, because that's one thing. I kind of, in a way, you have to be professional, but you have to show that motivation, that desire, that hunger. And that's what makes me mad about a guy like a Chase Elliott. Yeah, he's sponsored by Napa, but you see in his interviews, he never says anything wrong. Show me some passion, damn it. Like at Homestead, not Homestead, Phoenix, the last race of the year when him and Chastain got together. It was, oh, I thank my Napa Chevrolet team for a good seat. No, show me some passion. Get John Forsythe. Everybody knows who John Forsythe is. Like, show me that passion for racing, because that passion is what drives us all to do this. That's what sells sponsorship. That's what being personable and the passion to do it is what drives us forward.
So, in terms of the race car, I mean, you say you focus on the race car and everything like that. Like, what goes through a night of preparation? How much time throughout the week are we talking about? In terms of getting that car ready. On average, how much time are you spending in the garage to get that car ready through a week in and week out throughout the racing season?
Probably every bit of 4 to 5 hours a night. I've gotten, and I try to,
Yeah.
but a lot of times I'm by myself at night. My cousin Mark, he works midnight shift, so I'll go to bed, get up, go to work, and when he gets off of work, he'll go to the race car shop and work for a couple hours and then repeat. So I usually get off work anywhere between 4:30, 5 o'clock. So I'll go down there from by any time from when I get home to 10, 11 o'clock. But I usually try to take one night a week and just not do racing stuff, because you need that work life racing balance.
Yeah.
So I try to do that. It all depends on how the weekend went too. If you had a pretty easy Friday night, that's good. If you went 2 nights and it went fairly smooth, because usually if we just race a Friday night, how it goes is Saturday one, load the car, pressure wash the car, get it in the garage, put it on jack stands, and start our maintenance throughout the week. So then it's do tire stuff, grind tires, demount tires, mount new tires, grooves type. That takes a lot of time. That's a huge time consumer. And then motor maintenance, if we have to run the valves, do stuff like that, change spark plugs, change oil. It's a full-time job. On top of a full-time job, running a racing operation is a second full-time job.
Yeah. So a couple more things I want to get to before we wrap things up here. Your 2023 season is coming abroad fairly quickly, especially for you. I think you got something coming up in January that you want to make mention of?
Yeah, we are taking the race car to the Wardle Wheels show at the convention center. So that'll be cool. Might have something in store for that. I'm not gonna go out too far on that. Hopefully we can come public with that in the next couple weeks. would be really nice. So, but it's a good place to, as we alluded to this entire time, it's a good time to promote sponsors, be there, talk to people, network. Networking is a great thing.
So getting back to where I was coming to, alluding to your 2023 season, what would you consider a successful 2023 season? What accomplishments would you like to achieve to consider a 2023 season a success? What kind of goals do you have on your list to check off?
Well, the one that's eluded me so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's the obvious.
There's the obvious.
What else?
Just consistency, being consistently fast. I don't care. I plan to run 20 to 25 nights of racing. So I think now we all go to the racetrack and drop the gate and go, we're here to win.
Yeah.
We all go in with that mindset. But to me, I think a very successful 23 season would be being consistently fast.
How would you measure that?
So if you look at our season this year, we raced 19 races and had, I believe, 6 or 7 top 5s. If we can bridge that gap and get, if we run 20 races and we have 10, 12, 14 top 5s and we can narrow that gap, I think that's what we should aim for. The heat race wins have came. We're consistently fast there. We just need to, like you said earlier, the field's so close that getting that right adjustment at the right time and having Lady Luck on your side, all the pieces are there. They just all need to mesh
together.
They're meshing, but they just need to be a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I feel that we're there for 2023. Based on sponsorship wise, will probably be a regular Friday night car. I would like to not be bound to a racetrack points wise. I'd like to go to New York, visit a Canandaigua or a Land of Legends, places like that. I'd like to branch out. So what if I go there and get my ass handed to me? I'm going to go there and learn, because obviously them guys in New York are the best in the business. I'd like to branch out and do some of that stuff. I'd really, really like to run the full BRP tour this year. Lon and Pam Baker, they do a fantastic job with what they did there, or with what they've been doing there for it'll be 26 years coming up this year. So they do a fantastic job. They pay really well. The point structure pays well. I finished 20th in points there this year. I didn't run all the races, and I got a point fun check. I got a sheet metal certificate and a couple quarts of good power steering fluid and a $25 Big Daddy's gift certificate. What racetrack do you see doing that?
Yeah,
and I hate and I hate to say that, but I think it goes back. The drivers always want more. We always want more. There's never enough, and the racetracks never want to give more because they're already giving too much. I think a lot of with what's going on in this era, this economy, this age, with racing, I think the race car drivers and the racetracks, instead of fighting, they need to work together more. Whether that's, help with driver marketing to get them sponsors, where give them the tools that they need to put in their proposals, like the demographics and the viewership on their streaming platforms. Give us that information that we have to work with, so we can go to these businesses and go, hey, this streaming service has, I don't know, 7,500 subscribers. This is viewed from 47 states and 3 countries. Show them that. Give us the tools to help ourselves do what we need to do. And if the racers are strong and there's a good car count, the racetrack's going to survive. Yeah. And I in this area, I feel if God bless Brian Steinman for what he's doing at Knox. I mean, he's doing a great job there, but I'm not sure that I'd want to open a racetrack. He's doing a good job, and Merle Smith, he's doing a good job up at Tri-City, but I mean, God, I know how hard it is for a single race team, let alone a racetrack trying to find people and employ people, and not only that, but the track crew, the concessions, even somebody to clean the bathrooms after the races are over. Like, it's got to be difficult. Fuel in the trucks, fuel's not going down any. It's just, I don't know what the correct answer is, but they're all valid and good questions. And I think as racers, race fans, racetracks, racing media, the best thing to do is just try to promote the sport to bring the youth into it, because that demographic is not good. You're looking at an older demographic, but you need to bring the youth into the sport, and the sport needs that infusion of the youth in the new era, or it's not looking good. I mean, I remember being a little kid and being, the pro stock features weren't done till midnight at Lernerville in the early mid 2000s, and there'd be a line waiting to get in the pit area after the races. Mm-hmm. and you wouldn't get out of there till 1:32 in the morning. Now, I know times change, and that was back when stock cars got 30, 40 cars a night, but I don't know how you fix that or make that happen again. I don't know what the magic remedy is.
So, and that's a
and there's not one.
There's a point that I wanted to bring up that I just didn't get to. I give Vicky Emig all the credit in the
world absolutely
for taking the flack that she has over the years for introducing crate racing to our area.
But look what she did at Mercer. Free Butler County night, free Venango County night. She got all them people in there and introduced new race fans.
Yeah. Yeah, and she was creative in her promotion, and there's people out there that when they hear that name they cringe, and I don't know what I view is what Rush has been able to do with the late models, the modifieds, and the sprint cars. Those are the ones that I've seen firsthand. I know they have a stock car division. People are coming in groves to the late model division. I think because they have that rule set that is cut and dry. This is what it is.
Well, all their rule sets are cut and dry.
Yes, exactly. I was just using the late models because that's what I see at Pittsburgh.
Even though they don't pay the greatest for feature, put it this way, if you look at it at their pay scale, so a big block at Lernerville pays, I believe it's $1,200 to win a night. So if a crate modified pays $800 on a touring series night, I don't know, don't quote me on this. I know that it's, yeah, you're in that realm, but kind of goes back to like what the BRP tour is doing, right? You look at them, they have all the contingencies, they have all that stuff. Look at what Vicky does for the racers. Yeah, so what? Some people don't like the crate racing thing. Me being a racer and coming from a family of racers, it just wasn't my cup of tea. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I grew up around it. Here's what I see with crate racing. if you were never a racer or never came from a racing background, that's probably the class for you
You would never know the
because
difference.
you wouldn't know the difference. That's right. But
Besides the
the
speed, whenever you see it side by side.
right. But the thing is now like we've gone to Domhaus for, oh my God, my dad went there when he drag raced in the late 80s. We've been a customer there. We have a relationship there. And that's where all our engines are built. If you're somebody that's new to the sport, that doesn't know a carburetor from a fuel pump, you don't know anything about it. So when you look at it and go, oh, I can go buy this engine for $6,000 and bolt it in, and it's the same as Joe Schmo's next to me. Why not? It sounds good.
And
But go ahead.
The funny thing that it is funny because from the performance aspect, I just watched this year. We had the Boss Wingless Sprint Cars at Pittsburgh for the final night of the year on October 8th. John Mollick and Logan Schuart show up with their Rush Sprint Cars to compete against open 410 motors, meaning that these things can be bigger than 410s. And 410,
Right.
for those that don't know, are cubic inches. Basically, the more cubic inches, the more power in the engine. So 410s are 410s, but these things can be bigger than that. John Mollick showed up, and
for the younger crowd, 350 cubic inches is 5.7 liters.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go.
So John Mollick showed up, was not only fast time, won his heat race, and then was leading the feature until he hit the outside wall over in turn 2, which ultimately ended his night against open motors. So, I mean, yeah, the track conditions were right to support that. Don't get me wrong. On a tacky track, he probably would not have stood a chance.
Right.
But nonetheless, the people in the crowd didn't know that unless I mentioned to him. I didn't know that myself. I thought 100% hands down, because he has a 410 sprint car, that it was his 410 car. And somebody in the stands messaged me and said, "No, that's his crate car." And I said, "No, there's no way." And I stood corrected. It sounded like an open motor, just the way it was geared. I don't know the inner workings. I'm the first one to admit that, but I was wrong. And and going back to the pay scale real quick too, like that's not a bash at Lernerville.
No, none of that.
Like that's not what we're here.
That's
to
just
do.
a comparison.
We're just comparing, right? Exactly. And you talk about those bigger, Rush late model races. I mean, look at the Firecracker, the Bill Emig Memorial, 20,000 to win. The Bill Hendren Memorial at Pittsburgh, 10,000 to win. It is a no brainer. It's getting to be a no brainer because of these high paying races.
Right. But then even look at like the super late model races this past, now we're talking on a huge scale, but look at Eldora.
Yep.
Yeah, national, but the $1 million to win race, the Dream, the World, the Hillbilly 100, the Dirt Track World Championship. And that's just late. That's super late model. You look at big block racing, you have Oswego, you have the Orange County race, you have all them big races up north that are paying 10, 15, 20 grand to win. Look at even Charlotte's not the greatest paying race, but look at it on a grand scale. Yep. How many people are there? But getting a little bit off topic there, but like I was saying a little bit before that, but like what Vicky does with like the manufacturers nights, that's a great thing for racing.
Yeah. And racers.
You give away a set of scales. You give like big block or crate modified racing, complete front axles, rear end rebuild certificates. There's over 30 or 40 grand worth of contingencies there.
Didn't they give away a motor in the Rush model?
They do.
Lernerville?
Yeah, they give away a brand new 602.
Yep.
I think other divisions like I said, the BRP Tour, Lon and Pam Baker, they do a great job with that. And it's a great thing for big block racing in this area, because who else besides me and Chaz Wolbert in the past 5-6 years is a newcomer to the big blocks?
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that I've heard in the past where people say, the Rush modifieds were supposed to be a stepping stone to the big blocks, the Rush,
and they're not.
and they're not. And you know what? I think the reason why is because it's just so much more feasible to run in those divisions as opposed to the open. And I could be wrong there. I don't, but that's just my perspective.
I mean,
That's
I
what
don't
my
have,
takeaway is.
yeah, I don't have one, but I know people that do. And I mean, it has its positives and it has its negatives, like anything.
Sure.
But like, if I have engine trouble, I can pull it out and take it to Domhoff's, take it down to Doug and Sean, and they can have it fixed for me depending on what it is. If I have a crate engine, the backlog at Ingram or Race One, it's so backlogged because there's so many of them, you almost need two.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you want to race the next week, you need a second one.
Yep.
Where if something happens, I can tear my own stuff apart and take it to the machine shop, have it fixed, put it back together, and be racing.
Yep.
And it's about the same money.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. That's just, as a race fan looking at it, that's the perspective view on it. Like all the trophies behind me, I wish some of them were mine, but most of them are my dad's. And that came from building his own race cars and building his own engines or putting the combinations together. But you look at, I love when people tell me, they're like, oh, if you get a new race car, it's going to take all season to work it in. No, it's not. This isn't 20 years ago. This ain't 30 years ago. These are built on a jig. Yeah, it might have a little bit, this car might have a little quirk more or something a little different that it likes, but these are precision built race cars. These aren't, like I said, a Monte Carlo that you drag out of a junkyard and put a cage on it and put together with junkyard part. Yeah. And even the pro stocks anymore, they're not the pro stocks of old. No. Them things they're badass race cars. They're them dudes put in as much work as everyone else, and I race big blocks, but that still irritates me to this day. And this might come off as a dig to Lernerville or any racetrack, but why aren't the pro stocks in the rotation? They should be.
Yeah. I get what you mean.
They should be. They spend they pay the same money. They put as much work in as we do. They're no longer a support division.
No, not what they used to be. No.
And they usually put on a really great, I mean, they've always put on a good race. I mean, for years.
Oftentimes, that was the race of the night, is sticking around till the very end and watching the pro stocks battle it out. And I'm not joking. Like,
no.
In the heat races, I mean, oftentimes were the best ones to watch. And that's no disrespect to sprint cars, late models, or modifieds.
No.
It's the only track in America that has the big three every single week. But you're right. I mean, the pro stocks put on a phenomenal show. If it's not too late, I always stick around to watch.
Yeah, I usually go up and watch myself, and I was at the Latrobe swap meet, and I was parked next to Todd Weldon, and I walked up to him, and I'm like, dude, I wanted you to win one so bad this year at Lernerville. And it was like, he just kind of like my luck. He'd lead a bunch of laps and 3-4 to go, get past. But there's great race car drivers in every division. It burns me up a little bit inside because I'm a race fan. I don't care what division it is. I like a good race. I want them guys side by side, door to door for 25, 30 laps, racing each other's hearts out. And you watch the stands at Lernerville after the sprint cars run their feature. How many people leave? There is still great racing throughout the night.
Yeah.
It just, them guys work just as hard as the sprint car guys, the late model guys, us modified guys. And it's kind of a shame that fans don't stick around. And it's not, like we said earlier, it's not the old days of Lernerville where you're there till midnight, 1 a.m. I think at average night at Lernerville, we're out of there at 10:30.
Typically, yeah.
Yeah,
typically.
and I'm home by 11. I live a half hour away.
So one last thing I want to get to before we wrap things up here is you were talking about your dad a little bit, Jeff Walters. He's always
Yep.
good for a good story. And I always enjoy hearing him. I like stopping down and hearing stuff, especially back in the days.
You gotta watch. He just came in here and he's sitting here, so he can't hear what you're saying. But I'll.
Well, no, I wasn't going to talk about him too much. I was going to say Gene Pennington, back in those days. Oh my goodness. Anyways, let's get a good story. What's a good Colton Walters racing story that people may not know about that you can kind of laugh about now that it's happened, or something involved with racing that you can look back on and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that.
I got a Don Gamble story.
Okay. We all like a good Don Gamble story.
Yeah. So this is I've heard this from good friend of ours, Banker Beach. So Banker Beach and Don Gamble wrecked each other coming off a 2 at Lernerville, and they wrecked going. Oh, they're like 70. It's all good now.
I said they weren't very good friends then already.
Yeah, they weren't good friends then or whatever.
Okay.
So they wrecked going down the back straightaway. And they get out of the cars, and
they're over the hill.
They're over the hill at Lernerville, so nobody sees this. And Banker Beach tells this story. He's like, we get out of the cars, and I see this big son of a bitch, Don Gamble, running up the hill at me, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. Banker Beach, he's only like 5'4", and he wasn't a very big dude, and he's like, I just put my shoulder down and ran straight for him, and we're fighting over the back straightaway at Lernerville. Oh my God! But it goes back to like me and you were talking about the old days in racing, how you used to fight it out. Yeah, the passion. Yeah, there was the passion on it. But no, racing is racing's a wonderful thing, and it's been a blessing in my life, not only as a race fan but a driver too, and it's been a great ride. And even outside of racing, I have a great life, and if I didn't have racing, I probably would be a race fan. Like if I wasn't a race car driver, I'd probably be a race fan again. It's just very fortunate for the people that helped me. My dad, Mark, my grandfather, Fred Birch, Ronnie Sheaver, Will Herb, Bobby Bauer, all the great partners on the race car, Moody Sales, Ready Green Turf Farm, TJ Sales, or T James Motorsports, Sports and Spirits, Wildwood Collision, Bobby Bauer Tools, Tubba Towels, obviously. We talked about them earlier. So the Chop Shop, Bachman Trucking. God, I've rehearsed that Victory Lane speech for 27 years, Tyler. Damn it, I want to say that in Victory Lane.
Well, there will come a day, and I feel like 2023 is that year. So, Colton Walters, thank you very much for joining us here. And just as a reminder, everybody, if you are looking to get involved in racing, if you are a race fan out there and you want to get involved, please get a hold of either one of us, and we will be happy to point you in the right direction and see what you're interested in and see how you can get started. The world needs fans. The racing world needs fans, but we also need help as well. So, if you want to get involved in racing, just let us know. We'd be more than happy to get you pointed in the right direction. But, Colton.
Yeah. And that's regardless if it's going to a racetrack, being a fan, just get in contact with anybody. Take a friend to the racetrack.
Yep.
Racetracks need that. We need fans. We need people in the seats. We need people there to buy T-shirts, whether that's a Colton Walters T-shirt, a Chaz Wilbert T-shirt, a Rex King Jr. T-shirt. We need them people. We need everybody. So,
but hey, thank you very much for your time here tonight. We took up plenty of it. This full-length episode will be available on YouTube, and I'm sure we'll have to cut down the Rappin on Racing version for the podcast. But nonetheless, this has been a Rappin on Racing interview with Colton Walters. Colton, thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to your 2023 season.
Thank you, Tyler. It's been a pleasure as always.